in order to get the job, the Jets, Trevor Lawrence, or whatever that kid's name is, but they fired the defensive coordinator who called a blitz. He calls a blitz. Let's rush 8. Okay.
Well, how could you know that there was going to be a long pass thrown at that point of the game? How could you know?
I had resigned myself to, they were going to give the Jets their only win of the season. I just resigned it. Oh, that's so funny. All right, we're live. I'm sharing now. All right. Everything is shared because sharing is caring. I'm retweeted and shared and all that good shit.
Okay, well, I'm running slow today.
Meanwhile, the Steelers gave up their first loss of the season to the Washington football team. Brad, your thoughts on?
I don't care. The question is, which team with a really, really good record is going to completely fold up more quickly, the Browns or the Steelers?
I feel like the Browns the Steelers have played their 2 worst games of the year back to back, and the Browns are playing well right now. So that's fair. That's a fair question. The Browns, God, dare I say it, may actually be past their history.
It can happen.
Jeez, who knew? It almost happened to the Indians, and then it didn't.
Well, you know what I think? I think a recount of a couple of those games.
Of the 2016 World Series?
I think so.
I'd like to see that.
See, because people don't look at the scoreboard while the game's on, and they could slip in a.
And I think the aggregate run total really is what should be counted, not just each individual game.
Yeah,
got to be honest with you.
No, if baseball was scored like the Electoral College, you would have 9 innings, and whoever won the most innings
that would be the winner of the game.
Would be the winner of the game, right?
That's right. It didn't matter if you scored 10 runs in 1 inning. If somebody can score like 1 run in 3 separate innings, they would end up winning the game. That does
absolutely.
That makes all the sense in the world. Sure,
right? Because an inning is a division of the game that's as relevant to the outcome of the game as the states are to it actually is one of my less painful analogies because it does make sense.
There you go.
Yeah. All right. Are we in business here?
We are. We're rocking. Let's go.
I think we are in business. All right. It is our first Brad and Britt cast of this week, and we're glad you are with us. No Brad and Britt cast on Monday because Britt was looking at real estate.
I was
looking at real estate. Very expensive real estate
down in Key West. I really feel like the Keys are going to be hot the next couple of years.
No, you can tell. You can tell where you were. I don't think that's giving away any kind of secrets.
No, we went up to. I took the girlfriend up to see some of the family in Western North Carolina. Went to the Biltmore House. Did some shopping at the outlets on 26 near the airport in Asheville, and just enjoyed a really nice weekend. And the next time you're in Brevard, stay at the Red House Inn, BrevardBedandBreakfast.com.
Okay. All right. So where do we start? All right. I have an idea. This is one of my crazy ideas, one of my Ralph Cramden ideas. It's never going to go anywhere.
Hey, Ralphie boy.
It's never going to come to fruition. I'm not going to make any money from it. And it probably makes no sense. But here we go. V-Day, first day of the vaccine. I believe one of the first people that got it over in Great Britain is named William Shakespeare. Wasn't that clever of them to do
was
that?
very, very clever.
Yeah. See, here we're going to get somebody. The first person to get it will be named Jeffrey Dahmer. Okay, that'll be the difference between.
We're here on Action. We're here on Action 5 News with Timothy McVeigh. Go ahead, Tim. How did you?
Right. All right. So here's we have millions and millions of people who don't want to get the vaccine. They're afraid to get the vaccine, and for whatever reason, that's going to skew mostly Republican, but not exclusively. Okay, because people have different reasons. I understand that. And then there are people like me. All right.
Okay.
And I'm over 65.
Yeah, you're ready to go.
And theoretically, I should be a little bit further ahead, but I'm not, because I'm not in an important profession right now. I don't move up for that reason. And they had this little calculator page.
Yeah, I saw
on the
that.
New York Times the other day.
Yeah.
And according to the information I put in there are only like 3 or 4 metrics that they have in there.
That's right.
There are about 110 million people ahead of me who will get it. And that sounds about right, because you have all the essential workers. You have lots of older people with comorbidities. Maybe you advantage minority folks and people. You know, I get it. So I'm about a third of the way down. However, this is America, the home of capitalism. And if, for instance, someone who was ahead of me didn't want to get the vaccine, shouldn't I be able to buy their place in line? Just like if I wanted a ticket to a concert and I was willing to pay a scalper more money to get that ticket, I could pay that. Why isn't there an open market for people who want to sell their place? They don't believe in it. Okay. And then there are people like me. I would like to get it sooner than I might otherwise.
So you're looking for like a morbidly obese guy in the neighborhood walking around, like
who doesn't want to get?
Who doesn't want to get it?
Right.
Or can I interest you in 20 grand?
Or some black guy who is still afraid that there's going to be a mass Tuskegee experiment, not just on black people, but they're going to do it this time on everybody. Okay.
Okay.
So this guy, he's a black guy, and he's afraid of what happened in 1937 to black people, that now the plot is a lot wider. We're going after everybody this time. We want everybody in the country. All right. I'll buy his place. There's 100 different combinations. And
I hope that wouldn't be allowed. I hope that there would be some ID checking as they go.
Well, you're saying this isn't a great idea?
I'm just
you don't. Apparently, you don't believe in the free market. You don't believe in capitalism. You don't believe in freedom. You want to. You know, in Venezuela, they can't do this
because Hugo Chavez is dead.
No.
Oh, sorry. I thought we were still going on the precept that he's alive, because I'm hearing that he's controlling the entire election. I hadn't heard. Oh my God.
So that's my that's my brilliant idea that's going nowhere. I understand it, but it's just a good thing that today's
we tried. I think you're right. Lori Loughlin, line 2. There's got to be a way to move on up and change the system.
Today's thoughts and prayers go out to Jenna Ellis, the lawyer for the Trump campaign, an acolyte of Rudy Giuliani, and apparently, and see, this is it's not the great part of it,
but there's a great.
I just read a piece that now everyone, quote, in the White House is pissed over this, that so many people are getting it, and they're being so cavalier about it. And of course, this always gets, but we don't criticize the president.
No,
right?
No,
it never reaches that point. It's not about him. It's not about the attitude that he has let trickle down to people like that. And I guess I have to ask the question. This is going to go in there. You know, where were you when Kennedy was assassinated? Where did you hear about John Lennon being shot? 40th anniversary. Where were you when you heard that Rudy Giuliani tested positive? These are important moments in American history.
I was on the road or something. I don't know. So him and Jenna, and now the people in the White House, they're pissed that there were all these gatherings, which everybody knew about, and everybody knew there was a virus. Everybody knew it could spread, but they're pissed.
Yeah,
I don't. Why are you upset? That's the craziest thing. Like if I go to a whorehouse, I'm just going to use the most blatant example, and I decide not to use a condom, and then I end up with a love bump, I don't go, man, that damn whorehouse, I can't believe that. I'm so pissed at them. Are you getting the alert now? Because I see your sweatshirt. I can see your sweatshirt and you're pulling back right now. Are you getting the alert? You have your Ohio State sweatshirt?
I just want to make sure I have the facts on this.
I just wanted to tell you and be the first one to tell you that the Ohio State-Michigan game has been canceled. I did just get the alert. So
I don't care.
They will not be playing football this week.
Can I tell you something? The election officials in Michigan have suffered enough under the threats. and Michigan should not have to be subjected this week to a beatdown by Ohio State. So
Governor Whitmer, where is your leadership? Let's get this game on the field. Damn it.
All right, so here you go. One senior White House official who attended the big Christmas party on Friday said people brought their families.
That's what I see. That's what I'm hearing.
Their family. So she shows up at the party on Friday. Jenna Ellis. She was a guest of Peter Navarro, a total ass who's finally about to be run out of the.
He needs to get it. He needs to test positive for this shit.
And she wasn't wearing a mask.
Right.
She had the nerve to show up at the senior staff Christmas party, knowing everybody was furious with her for constantly stirring Trump up with nonsense. So, okay. There's 5 things wrong with that.
Easily, yeah.
That people who stay working for Trump and do not quit are mad that the only people left in the country still floating around who have third-rate legal degrees are people like this Jenna Ellis, who's a complete hack, the worst. And they're mad that she's telling Donald Trump all these bad things. It's like when in 3rd grade, your mother would say, you really shouldn't hang out with Billy. And your mother always turned out to be right, usually.
Usually she did.
But this is a 74-year-old toddler. Okay. And so I'm really tired of all these. And you could wrap all that up in the Georgia debate that was on TV Sunday night, where that fembot, that fembot, Kelly Loeffler. And by the way, you know what? You want to play high-low here? Yeah. I got it. How old do you think she is?
46.
That is the exact guess that I made.
Yeah.
And I was wrong. She's 50. 50. All right. A 50-year-old woman does not have hair down to her fucking knees. Okay. What the fuck is that kind of a look? What kind of
Crystal Gale shit is that?
Christ.
Yeah.
What an empty vessel piece of shit. Radical socialist Raphael Warnock. Radical socialist Raphael Warnock. Radical socialist Raphael Warnock. And there's the entire debate for you right there. And it wasn't a debate.
But kudos to Ossoff for debating the empty chair because Purdue didn't show up. Because Purdue can't handle like an hour of John Ossoff just telling him all you did was profit off of this shit. That's all you did was get rich off of this shit. He couldn't handle it. He couldn't take it.
Did you see how many stock trades he's made?
No.
Since I believe it's about 24 or 2,500. Okay?
Right. Even by congressional standards, even by senatorial standards. Ridiculous.
Even by obsessive compulsive day trader standards.
That's ridiculous.
That's a lot.
So he literally just couldn't handle it. He couldn't handle getting pounded by John Ossoff for something that he totally did. And he couldn't stand up a second time for it.
Right. And it's not just that. It's that, remember, this is on purpose. It's not that he's afraid of John Ossoff. No. It's that they've done the research. Right. They've talked to enough voters. Right. And there are enough voters who will say the following. I know how David Perdue votes. I understand exactly what he's all about. I'm not voting for a saint. I don't really care what he does. Right. They will excuse it. So he made the calculation. It was better not to show up and have this be laundered in public again.
Yeah.
Then and he's going to win that way. And I believe, we'll see if we're right here. I believe that the Georgia version of the Cal Cunningham strategy will not work. Cal Cunningham disappeared the last month of the campaign and wouldn't answer any questions. I'm not going to talk about that, about his email bullshit with that woman, Miss Lewinsky. No, that woman. And he ended up losing at the end there. And I hope that the same thing is going to happen to Purdue. And I hope that the turnout is depressed just enough on the Republican side by the mixed message insanity of Donald Trump was cheated out of an election. Hi, I'm Donald Trump. Vote in the next election, which is also going to be fixed, but we have to show up. Get it? Okay. So that's all we can hope. And also hope that Stacey Abrams and her group of organizers can continue to put pedal to the metal there and get a good turnout. And, it's also very possible that at this point, because the coronavirus is just escalating through the roof everywhere, including Georgia, that even if there's 50 or 60% early voting and mail-in voting, that day of election voting is going to be lower than it otherwise might be. Who knows what's going to be going? We don't know what's going to be going on 3.5, 4 weeks from now with the coronavirus. We could be up to 4,000 deaths a day. We could be up to 250, 300,000 new cases every day. And Georgia is as representative as anywhere else in that. So, yeah. So
what did you think of the Donald Trump appearance on Saturday in Georgia, the big rally, which I don't know, may have killed off some more voters?
I just hope that when the concert version of that comes out, okay, because it's going to be spectacular. It's going to be it's going to be the best. No, the best part is he's coming back.
Is he really?
Oh yeah, he thought this is another one of those. Everybody who watched it, who isn't completely lost forever, thought it was a disaster and that he said all the wrong things. And it was 98% his grievances about his election and 2% about the other two Senate candidates getting up there for tents. Hurry up, say your thing, get the fuck off the stage. You're taking the spotlight away. It's the same thing every time. Oh, and by the way, here's something that will not be on CNN or MSNBC or Fox today. It won't even be on One American Network. But I have a person who I live with who monitors Twitter very, very closely and follows several different, how should we say, off the grid type people.
Right. And
this is the person that is obsessed with the Donald Trump adult diaper problem. All right. And here is the theory that's out there, and this is just speculation. I can't prove it's true, but it just sounds good.
I believe it's true.
Have you seen, or did you see on Monday, the little medal ceremony in the Oval Office where Dan Gable, the legendary Olympic wrestler and Iowa wrestling coach for 30 years, and legend. Iowa wins the national wrestling championship. 80% of they're that good. Yeah, they're that great. So when Trump was in Iowa about 3 months ago, if you remember, he was desperate at that point. Things were going really bad, and he would go to each state and find the most prominent local hero to stand next to him on stage.
Right.
And in Iowa, that person at that time was Dan Gable. Still just a huge name in Iowa because of what he's achieved. He's just he's like Michael Jordan in North Carolina. I don't know what else to say. Right?
He's huge. Yeah, he's built a behemoth with it, but he never beat Ric Flair.
By the way, he has the bonus of being white.
That's true. That's also good. But he never beat Ric Flair. I don't care how good at the wrestling he is. He's never been.
Of course not.
Ric Flair,
and by the way, not that many people have beaten Ric
That's
Flair.
Exactly right. That's exactly.
How many times world champion was he?
17, I think is what it was. 16 or 17.
16 or 17. That's a record that's never going to be. All right. So he brings Dan Gable up on stage with him 3 months ago and announces right there in another great Donald Trump spontaneous moment that he's going to give him the Medal of Freedom. that ultimate that only goes to great Americans like Rush Limbaugh. Okay. So yesterday, Monday, was the actual awarding the ceremony. So Gable shows up with his entire extended family, and that extended family included about 10 kids who were under 10. All right. So a bunch of little kids standing there, all dressed up in their little suits, very well behaved. And there is nobody worse in these kind of situations than Donald Trump, because even while he's giving the Medal of Freedom to somebody, the ceremony is always really about him. Okay. So he says to Dan Gable something to the effect of, I could probably beat you in wrestling. And Dan Gable says, I don't think you could.
No, you couldn't.
Well, Mr. No sense of humor, okay, is already kind of steaming, and he's already looking off to the sky and not paying attention to what's going on.
He's pissed
at
he's
the very
pouting.
ceremony
He's
that he's
pouting.
right. He's bored with his own ceremony that he's the master of. And finally, it's over. A few seconds later, all the kids are standing there, and Trump quickly turns and starts moving towards the door to get out of the Oval Office. There's no ending to this ceremony. He doesn't say, all right, thank you very much for coming.
Thank you.
It was great. He just does a thank you and turns away. And he does that, of course, because he doesn't want to have to answer any questions from the assembled members of the press. But my source, through my source that lives with me here, says that Donald Trump may have had, how shall we say it, a depends explosion.
An accident.
Okay? Right. And they said if you go and look at the video, Trump had that look on his face.
Oh my God.
And even worse, he says if you look at the faces of the kids, and there are no more sensitive duty sensors than little kids.
They know it.
They know it. They know it, and that they were smelling it at the time, and that was part of the reason. So I'm going to go 50-50 on this. Half of it was he didn't want to have to answer a question, and the other half was he shit his pants. Okay.
That's fantastic.
You like that?
That's a good theory.
There you go.
So they wanted him to concentrate on the Georgia Senate races on Saturday when he was campaigning ostensibly for.
He couldn't do it. It
was no way for Loeffler and also for Perdue, but he was able. It was just a list of grievances that he was able to bitch about.
This is the great thing about it. This is what when the history books and the biographies are written, and you did see that Bob Woodward is going to team up not with Bernstein but with Robert Costa of the Washington Post, and they're going to write the Final Days Part 2. They're doing it. Woodward,
those are good writers. Those are pretty good.
You might have thought that Woodward had said, I've finally written my No, he's still in there. They're playing, and but the amazing thing that the entire week leading up to the Saturday night rally that Trump was at in Georgia. Was it Saturday or Friday? I think it was Saturday.
Saturday, yeah.
Saturday.
Never went down to Georgia on Saturday.
Everyone was talking about how the fact that Trump will bitch about the election, that he'll barely mention the candidates. We've seen this picture a million times before. And that if Trump wanted to do something correct and help these candidates, he would stay on script. He would talk about how important it is for the Republicans to maintain control of the Senate, which he really doesn't give a shit about. But let's pretend that he would have.
Let's pretend.
And Trump hears all this kind of criticism. He knows this kind of thing. So he gets there, and what does he do? He's even worse. He's even worse than you could have anticipated, because he repeated stories over and over again. He did all the kind of things that lead you to believe that he lost his ability to have his wits about him many years ago, and we're just seeing which, by the way, leads you to don't worry about 2024. Okay, there's not going to be much left up there by then, as far as I can tell.
Right.
But yeah, he was just dreadful. It was Donnie's little personal Festivus. It was feats of strength. I'm still the president, and I won the election that I didn't win. Feats of strength, and of course, grievances,
Airing of the grievances.
airing of my own personal grievances, right?
Right.
Somebody should have put a Festivus pole right next to him.
Festivus for the rest of us.
Yeah. So, and by the way, one more cheap shot at Kelly Loeffler. If she isn't the human embodiment of the fembot, of one of the Austin Powers blondes,
Yeah.
I don't know who is. I just don't know who is.
They were able to sniff out the fembots in the original Bionic Woman because they were so heavy. And you put a pencil down on the ground, they step on it, crack the pencil. They were much heavier.
She's either a fembot, a Stepford wife, or one of the mechanical women on Westworld.
Yeah.
How about that?
That's
three choices. I'll give you three choices on that.
Those are all good.
She's just dreadful. Have you ever seen anybody worse on a public debate stage than her? Ever?
She's pretty bad. Sarah Palin was bad, but I think she's worse than Sarah Palin.
Yeah, but Sarah Palin could speak. I don't like what she said, but she wasn't inarticulate in terms of being able to deliver a speech and stay on message when she had to. This is just, because this woman was appointed 10 months ago. She's just an appointee,
right?
And she's just nothing. She's just absolutely nothing.
So she may be auditioning for anchor on the Trump News Network when all this thing is said and done, or when One America is over.
But if you want to take an old thing that gets brought up occasionally and apply it here, we have 100 senators.
Mm-hmm.
You want to think that those people are culled from kind of the best of us at some level. Kelly Loeffler is not among the best of us.
Right.
To be in the United States Senate, formerly known as the world's greatest deliberative body. Formerly known. I don't think you want to call it that anymore, do you?
So he was making calls over the weekend, the president was, to try to overturn the election. Among other people, he called the Pennsylvania House Speaker.
Make it stop.
He's called several. I don't know if he busted out another call to Brian Kemp of Georgia, trying to get him to overturn the election. It doesn't seem to be working, Brad. He's not getting the results that he wants with this.
Well, I'm surprised he doesn't do a mass Zoom call to all these people at once.
Overturn the election.
And to tell them to overturn the election. This, we're having fun with this because that's what we do here.
Sure.
But this is serious shit.
This
is a blatant, undeniable attempt to overturn the votes of millions and millions of Americans. And there's going to be an accounting for this. There is. I hope it comes in Georgia on January 5th, because if the Democrats get in control of all of the committees, Charles Schumer is the majority leader, and the Democrats still have a majority in the House of Representatives, whether they lost a few seats or not. As we know in America, a majority of one is equal to a majority of 1,000, right?
Mm-hmm.
Because we live in an electoral college country.
We do.
If they control all three of the branches, the House, the Senate, and the presidency, a lot of things would change. Now, they're not going to change the way Republican office holders and candidates claim that we're going to become a socialist communist dictatorship in 3 weeks. I'm confident that's not going to happen. And what just kills me about the stupidity of voters across the country who listen to this stuff. I don't know about you. I'm old enough to remember when there was a Democratic president. I'm old enough to remember when there was a Democratic majority leader.
Yeah.
I'm certainly old enough to remember when the House was controlled by the Democrats, because that's been for the last few years.
Sure, today years old. That's
right.
So
right. And this idea that when Democrats have control of the government, that somehow the complexion of the country changes from a democracy to some kind of dictatorship. Well, that would be part of the brand new show that debuts tonight at 9:00 called Ultimate Gaslight. Because right now we have the Republican Party staging a coup.
It seems like it.
Not recognizing the outcome of an election. And I know that the Republicans who are under siege in Georgia, Brian Kemp and the Secretary of State and that elections guy
Raffensperger
with the all these people, and to their credit, and I don't agree with those people on anything in terms of their politics,
right?
But God damn it, they're doing their jobs. And as we've learned in the world of Trumpism, if you just do your job, you may be under attack. You may be fired. You may be threatened with your life. And if you suck up to Donald Trump and lie for him, then you're a great guy. And is Brian Kemp the guy that I want running interference for me when the chips are down? Well, normally I would have said no, but I do want him in the foxhole next to me if an order comes down that is illegal and we're not supposed to follow it, because it looks to me like he won't follow the illegal order. And that's what Donald Trump is doing. He's issuing illegal orders. He's doing illegal things. And it's a little bit late in his term to impeach him for these things, for election interference, because, of course, there's no such thing as an actual law that says a president can't pick up the phone and call. I mean, I understand all that. I get that. But the fact that we've gone this far down the road, the fact that we had late last week, the Washington Post call up every member of Congress and all the senators, and of the 200 and some who were spoken to, only 10% of them said that, yes, Joe Biden is the president-elect. The other 90% waffled and gave the same kind of silly answer that didn't answer the question. The president has every right to contest the election through all legal means. That's not an answer. And that's the same answer that the cheerleader gave Sunday night in Atlanta in the Georgia debate. That's not the question. And we're on a day where all the states now have to certify. Today's that day, right? Mm-hmm. And it's just so over. It's so over. So we're just left with a guy, and I guess we need to let's try to think of the reasons now, the actual reasons that Trump is ready to push this to whatever limit he thinks he can push it, and it's not going to work, right? I mean, any normal person by now would say, well, let's see, I lose every time in court. I don't even have lawyers to argue with me on my behalf in court. Every judge has said, this is a joke. Get the fuck out of here. Nobody wants to take my calls, and the people who do take my calls apparently hold the phone at arm's length while I rant. And then publicly, I come out and say, well, I didn't tell them to change any votes. I didn't tell them to tell the electors in, pick your state, Georgia, Wisconsin, Michigan. I didn't tell them to do that. Well, why did you call them? To find out how the Packers are going to do in the playoffs? That's why you called Wisconsin?
Did you get your Harry and David's fruit basket? I want to make sure you got it. That's why I called you.
Right. So
is that what we're doing?
So here's the question. And we can go back and forth. We can just try to. Why at this point is he still willing to do this? Does he think that in the United States we're going to allow a president to go in the direction that Hungary and Poland and Russia and Turkey and the Philippines have experienced, where they hold elections? Some of the elections are legit, some aren't. But either way, the strong man consolidates power and he corrupts the courts. He vilifies the press. Institutions are ripped apart, and everyone must pay homage to the leader. Does he really think that this country is going to go in that direction beyond the faction of the Republican Party that he holds sway over because he's afraid of their voters? They're afraid of the voters. Does he really think the rest of us are going to stand by and let that happen? Does he really think that we're going to let this be Germany in the mid-1930s? that we're going to let a guy get in there and do that, because we're not going to do it. It's not going to happen.
Well, I don't know. I don't know what I'm not really sure what the thought process is, but I mean, he's trying to keep himself and his family from going to jail. I think that's the first and foremost thing, isn't it?
Well, that's either one or two. I was going with the mechanical part
Yeah.
of it. You're going with the painfully obvious, pathetic, ridiculous thing, because that then ties into all the pardons that he's apparently about to issue. And boy, there's nothing that says love around Christmas time than presenting your children with pardons.
It never gets returned. It always fits. You know, it's just the most amazing thing you could ever get. I don't care who you are. I mean, I think that's it. I also feel like he feels like this is his last chance on the stage too, right? He's never going to be more famous or more powerful or have people, listening to him like they do now. And once he's done with that, it's over. So he has to hang on to the stage as much as possible. I guess that's what I think.
Let's go back to the pardons, particularly for his family, because it's my understanding that because a presidential pardon only covers federal crimes.
Correct, yeah.
And because Eric Trump and Ivanka Trump and Don Jr. Trump are facing the music in the state of New York and in the Southern District of New York, in that jurisdiction there, that this isn't going to help them either.
I agree.
This isn't going to bail them out, because all the stuff about fake charities and so that's all New York State stuff. And Donald Trump's tax returns, which we haven't seen, there's no doubt that they are mimicked by his state of New York returns. And so whatever he's doing with the IRS that we haven't been able to see, and by the way, I think we should both get cookies, because
for what?
we said long before the election of 2016 that it was the lack of Trump showing his taxes that should have disallowed him, and that people who have any ability to think should realize that this is what a con man would do.
Right.
This is and that was probably about the same time that he'd gone after John McCain and think. I mean, long before the election. But when it was obvious that he was going to try to hide his tax, that should have been a knockout blow right there.
100%.
And it was. And to this day, it's going to be a knockout blow when we find out what he gets nailed for. Not just on the federal level, but in the state of New York, where they're not going to let go of his leg. Those teeth aren't coming out of it. They're going to shake that sucker. No matter how much discussion there is, and you've probably read the articles and seen it now discussed a lot. Should Donald Trump be prosecuted for anything? And I think that Joe Biden, who, by the way, will not pick up the phone and call whoever his attorney general is and tell them to lock up Donald Trump. Okay, that's not how Biden is going to run this. You can say anything you want about Joe Biden, but he's an institutionalist, and he was the vice president for a president who was so careful to not be that guy, to not pick up the phone and call Eric Holder, who was his attorney general almost all the way through.
Correct.
And have him go after it. That's just how, you have to go back to Nixon to have that kind of activity going on. Joe Biden isn't going to do that. So I think Joe Biden can just sit back and let things play out as they will, and let the state of New York handle this. Don't you?
As far as I can see, the Biden has played the transition perfectly well. There's a lot of liberal hand-wringing over it. Is he going to have enough black folks or brown folks in the cabinet? I hear some of that stuff, and I understand, and I want everybody's opinion to be heard and stuff. But they today announced the nomination probably for the next Secretary of Defense. It's I guess retired General Lloyd Austin, who is going to be the first African American, if he's approved, to be the head of the Pentagon. So I think that's all happening well, and Joe Biden does a spectacular job.
Well, there's a problem with that nomination.
What's that?
And here's the problem. Here is the problem. And I think it can be overcome, and I think it can be explained, and every situation is different. You know, I think until World War II ended, that position was called Secretary of War.
It was. That's correct. Yes.
So after World War II, after we dropped a couple of nuclear weapons, we decided that we would rebrand that position as Secretary of Defense, because as you know, defense is not war. Okay.
No, it's not.
Okay. Anyway, you get the point. And the tradition has been that a civilian fills the position of Secretary of Defense, and that has not happened only twice. It happened with General Mattis, and it happened with George Marshall. Okay, he does the Marshall Plan after World War II. He's an esteemed, well thought of, and so Truman.
I think those two turned out well, by the way.
And right, so those two turned out well, but they
worked out.
But all the other secretaries of defense have been civilians not coming directly from the military, and they've had a 10-year cooling off period. They would say, all right, if you were in the military, you need to be retired for 10 years so you have no more connections to the people in the military while you're doing that. And normally I would say, that's okay. But in this particular case, Joe Biden knows this guy so well.
Exactly.
He knows him really, really well and has a good relationship to him. And if for 1 second you think that the Republicans who are going to be holding the hearings, if they hold the Senate, right, over this guy, are going to, without shame, suddenly declare it needs to be a civilian, when, of course, General Mattis had just been approved, several years ago, they will pretend that never happened, right?
Exactly.
Isn't that how they roll?
Never heard of him.
So there will be a complete hypocrisy there. I say he'll get through just fine.
I think it's not.
This is not the hill for Republicans to die on, because in addition to the fact that the guy, clearly he's qualified, Biden gets along with him, and he is black, and I take that back. Republicans don't give a shit.
No, they don't.
Okay, they don't give a shit about that part of it, right?
He is tweeting right now about saying that Governor Kemp of Georgia, his approval ratings or something are down 18 points, and Donald Trump says, "Don't believe it. It must be much more." So he's still going after Brian Kemp, pretty tough in the state of Georgia. The Washington Post reporting.
I wouldn't worry about it.
The Washington Post reporting this week that Donald Trump called Pennsylvania House Speaker Brian Cutler, we talked about this earlier, and pressured him to appoint pro-Trump presidential electors. Cutler's office said, "I'm sorry, Mr. Trump, we do not have the power to override the results of the vote." I believe they would call that illegal. However, the speaker previously joined several Republican lawmakers in asking Pennsylvania's congressional delegation to raise objections to the results after the Electoral College votes. The last piece of information we need to give you today is that Texas, the state of Texas, has sued Georgia, Michigan, Pennsylvania, and Wisconsin at the Supreme Court, calling changes they made to the election process amid the coronavirus pandemic unlawful. The extraordinary and probably long shot lawsuit, says the Guardian.
Say that again.
They are suing
Texas, the state of Texas.
Texas. Ken Paxton is the attorney general. He is the big Republican conservative asshole of the day.
Oh, he's a puss. He
has filed a lawsuit against the states of Georgia, Michigan, Pennsylvania, and Wisconsin at the highest court in the land, calling changes they made to election procedures amid pandemic of coronavirus unlawful. Brad, the Supreme Court has a 6-3 majority.
Let's see how if I can pretend I'm a judge, I'm going to write this opinion, throwing this lawsuit down the sewer outside of my house here. Number one, you don't even have the standing to do this. Number two, it's too long, and everybody's already approved their elections. The doors are closed. Number three, you suck. Get the fuck out of my courtroom.
Fuck you is always a good number three.
Just fuck you.
It's really the most important.
There's just nothing there.
I hate to bury the lead.
Let me get this straight. So the states that Trump won, none of them made any kinds of changes to accommodate the coronavirus. None of them. It
Although
just happens. It just happens to be 4 swing states,
as you know, in Texas,
that would give Trump the election.
They kept bitching on and on and on about drive-through voting and shit like that. But yeah, apparently somehow he was able to win, and Hugo Chavez wasn't able to work his magic in Texas, Brad, for some reason or other.
Oh, I got one more thing. I don't have it in front of me. I looked at it before, but and you can look it up while I'm talking about this. You can look up the 2020 results for the state of Wisconsin.
All right.
In 2016, the Jill Stein, Gary Johnson total was much greater than the difference between Hillary Clinton and Donald Trump this time. And this didn't, they only reported this as a 2-person race everywhere, right? You didn't see any libertarian candidates.
Yeah,
the difference in Wisconsin was almost identical this time for Biden. And yes, there was a libertarian candidate, and that libertarian candidate's total plus the other 2 people that you may see there equals way more than the
Biden won. Biden won the state of Wisconsin by 20,700 votes, roughly 20,700 votes. Joe Jorgensen, your Libertarian Party nominee, as you well know, you were a big supporter. You got the Joe Jorgensen bumper sticker. 38,491 votes.
All right, already bigger. And then there are 2 other.
Brian Carroll from the American Solidarity Party gets $5,000, and Don Blankenship from the Constitution Party gets $5,000. Altogether, we're talking about $50,000, close to $50,000 in totals for those third party, fourth party, fifth party candidates.
Right. So, we had this discussion endlessly. How many votes were taken away from Hillary Clinton? By those third and fourth and fifth party candidates in those swing states? The answer is way more than the margin. And this time, and you don't hear Trump say word one about this, do you?
No, but that's coming.
You don't hear that's not coming up. It's too late for that.
Well, I hope Hugo Chavez must have funded those campaigns, Brett, to take votes away from him.
Right.
That must have been what happened.
It's just one of those little things that I noticed this morning.
It's a very nice nugget. I like that.
Yeah, you got it. All right. I think we've done plenty of damage for our first day back, don't you think?
That makes sense to me.
Yeah. All right. Onward.
Let's move on.